Welcome back, enthusiasts. With Season 10 quickly looming with what looks to be the most exciting and biggest power creep any season has provided us until now, I'm super excited to be able to tell you that the Hydra Sorcerer is still going to be amazing for leveling as a league starter. With this build already being one of the stronger leveling builds for the Sorcerer and Chaos powers added into the mix, it should blast from level 1 to 60 in no time at all. In this video we'll cover an overview of the build, the core mechanics, the equipment and aspects, and further information on the build. Let's get into it. Alright guys, I've got the Burning Hydra leveling guide here. As you can see, it's a full leveling guide. It's designed to take you from level 1 to 60 along a journey, and it is designed to be a league starter, so it doesn't have anything in it you can't achieve when starting fresh in the new season. You can see here there are 3 variants, level 1 to 14, 15 to 29, and 30 to 60, all with their requirements in the variant summary below. You can see then that there's all the skills and enchants, then all of the items and their aspects. The skill tree is all set up, and the mercenaries. Paragon doesn't matter because we don't get that till after leveling. We've also got all the runes, the new chaos perks, the gems, and then the strengths and weaknesses with the gameplay loop and how it works below, and all of the extra in-depth explanation below if you're interested. Be sure to remember to favourite the guides above, guys, at the top if you're interested in following this build, because if any changes happen here, they will be put into the changelog down below. It's also worth mentioning that if you want to carry on beyond level 60, guys, there is an endgame build which is linked in the top as well, so be sure to check that out if that takes your fancy as well. So with that out of the way, guys, I'm going to run you through the core elements of the build, but if you're interested in checking out the guide in full detail, be sure to check out the build planner link in the description down below, and that is where you will find the full information of the build. So we'll start here with the skills and the enchants quickly. There's one core difference here to what we had before. We used Flame Wall by the time we got to level 30 to 60. I have changed this to Firebolt because we've got a new Chaos power that will allow us to scale our damage based on casting basic skills pretty drastically, and it won't be that hard or that clunky to play. So we swap out Firebolt for Firewall because Firebolt can also be doubled up to give you a 25% multiplicative burning damage here as well, so you don't really lose your increased damage there, particularly against hard targets, which is what Firewall could give you. We obviously take Hydra. We've got Inferno, Ice Blades, Lightning Spear, Familiar. You're going all conjurations here. It just pretty much automates after this point, and we take Inferno for the vulnerable and the pull-in. And then by the time we get to level 30 and we get both our enchants, we're taking Fireball for the insane amount of clearance this gives us during leveling. And then we double up with Familiar because this just allows you to cap your Familiars and run around with full stacks of Primordial Binding without any real investment at this point. So this just makes it super easy to play. In terms of items and aspects, you have to check out the guide for the specific stats. But generally speaking, you're going core stat and max life just about everywhere, and anything else is a bonus. My general ethos on these builds is to make sure you cap your defense and go for any offense you can along the way, taking any key offense aspects you can. The key offense aspects here are Serpentines. Even after the nerf, this was significantly drastically nerfed this patch, but it will still be very good for leveling even if you choose not to use it in the end game. So if you do come across one of these, whack it on your two-handed weapon, or you could flip this around with Tenuous Destruction if you find a better one of those. Tenuous Destruction in this build, because we're not using a defensive skill, will allow you to get a drastic amount of increased damage across your build here. It really does boost your leveling speed. It makes you blast completely. And if you're really lucky and find an Ophidian Iris unique amulet, obviously put that on, and then put Tenuous Destructions on your gloves or something, because that amulet is just absolutely insane. Other than this, in terms of offensive options, Engulfing Flames just scales our burning damage, and we take Inevitable Fate because where we're doing dot damage, it just gives you even more clearance along with Fireball. This curves off a little bit by the time you get nearer to level 60, but it's pretty good early on if you're lucky enough to drop it. Other than this, we just take Disobedience and Juggernauts to help make our armor just very high. Just makes you very, very tanky to physical early on. Tenuous Agility because it just caps our movement speed along with Primordial Binding super early. We're taking Elemental Accuracy because with the way that Serpentines works and consumes all your mana, Elemental Accuracy will just make you regen your mana super duper quickly. And we are casting all 3 different elements. And we have taken the aspects of concentration because this just gives you damage reduction, and I can't state strongly enough how strong damage reduction is in general, let alone in leveling. So none of these are mandatory, but if you do find any of these, then they will make you blast faster. If we go on to the skill tree, obviously we're just mostly playing into Hydra here. So the key things here are we're taking all the points in Hydra, going into Summoned Hydra. This is a Burn Hydra build, so we go over there. All the conjurations to support it. Coming up to Invoked Ice Blades, because this attack speed bonus scales into attack speed bucket 2. That also scales our Hydra attack speed. We've taken Lightning Spear with Enhanced so that we can get more Lightning Spears when we cast them. So that just scales up Primordial Binding. And we've taken Familiar going into Invoked Familiar because this allows us to get that extra 10% damage when we've got our Fire Familiars active, which is really nice. That in conjunction with Primordial Binding gives us a crazy amount of summoning damage, movement speed, and mana regeneration without really investing anything else. So this alone will carry you to 60 just about. The rest of the nodes around them here are defensive based, so that will just help keep you alive. The same up here with Dampened Layer. Glass Cannon just gives you a crazy amount of damage per point, and because we've taken all these defensive options and with the defensive aspects, you can afford to take this early on. We obviously went into Firebolt early on as we specified before. This allows us to proc our Chaos perk and gives us this 25% burning damage. We had to take 1 point in Fireball just so that we can put it in the enchant, and Potent Warding just gives us more resistances early on, which scales with our intelligence, so again, it just makes us tankier. We take the 3 points in Inner Flames because it's easy damage for us here. We should be healthy most of the time, especially where we've taken 2 points in Warmth down here, which we've obviously maxed out Endless Pyre to get to because this just scales our burning damage. Lovely, very good while leveling. Soulfire just makes us scale our damage a bit higher, so that's also really nice. Inferno is obviously capped out here to reduce its cooldown. Coming into Supreme Inferno along Prime Inferno gives us that pull-in, gives us the vulnerable application, makes it so it scales our pyromancy damage like on our Hydra, so that's really nice. And all these supporting nodes will pretty much just scale our damage here. So like Hoarfrost, because we got the wolves on our runes, we're going to be chilling and freezing enemies really easily. So Hoarfrost, Icy Touch, Permafrost, they're all going to be really good for us. And Elemental Synergies as well will just boost our damage a bit more. A bit of cooldown of Evocation, and of course we end on Combustion here. And there was a fix in the patch notes saying that it wasn't applying its damage properly. We don't know if that's a buff or nerf. I guess we'll find out. But this will still blast in leveling, so you will not need to worry. In terms of mercenaries, I typically go for Variana to start with because she gives extra movement speed and attack speed, which both just really help while you're in your league starter phase and you haven't necessarily capped your movement speed, and attack speed is just something you're still building on. And since that scales your Hydra attack speed, like the speed at which they fire their projectiles, it's just very useful. And then I normally just take Rahir here with Bastion, and if you're becoming injured, because that just helps you if you do happen to find yourself in a tough spot. Although this build, if you get half the stuff that's on it, should make you feel tanky enough that you shouldn't really need to worry about any of that, really. Unless you scale your difficulty too fast, of course. Going on active runes, we take Seer and Say. All of these runes are blue, same with the Chaos perks, so they will all be achievable relatively early on during the leveling phase, in theory. Obviously, the runes are going to be down to drops, so you'll just have to get lucky on that front to start with. But if you do get a Seer or Say rune, this will just cap your Primordial Binding along with your other conjurations, because this will summon up a load of wolves to support you, and these wolves also freeze and chill enemies for you, so that's just playing into all your damage nodes really easily, and it just crowd controls everything for you. I take Zan and Ton because that means every time you cast your Inferno, you're going to rain down a load of meteorites, and these are actually really strong for leveling until you get to about level 40-45 onwards, and then it starts to curve off, but they are very, very good for leveling early on. So if you get those, it's just a nice little extra nuke button on top of what your Inferno does already. Chaos perks, we've got Explosive Combinations. This is the new one where if you cast a basic skill, it increases your generic damage by 20% for 5 seconds. And this stacks 3 times, so that's 60% damage. This was changed from the PTR so that it works with generic damage rather than other types of damage. So this is actually very strong now, which is why we've changed Firewall for Firebolt, because this is going to outweigh any of the bonuses the Firewall gave us before. Invigorating Attacks is taken just to help us generate maximum primary resource if we've run out and we haven't scaled it back yet. We can just cast a firebolt, and this is just gonna, we don't care about the firebolt doing less damage. We're using it as utility, so we can just get our primary resource refilled every 5 seconds. Very nice. And accelerating chaos is taken just for a little bit of extra cooldown reduction if you're lucky enough to proc it. As I say, if we find that rare powers can be achieved during this phase, I will update this to reflect this, and that will be in the changelog down below, so be sure to keep an eye on this. Socketables, we take damage over time on the weapon, intelligence in the armor, and we just go full resistance in the ring, in the jewelry. There is a world where you possibly would go armor here, but I think early on I take this because you can get so much armor in the aspects from Disobedience and Juggernauts, and this just helps you cap your resistances along with your intelligence super easy. So this is a really good way to go. And that's pretty much the overview of the build, guys. As I said before, there's extra information down below, the gameplay, how it works, and extra information. So if you're checking out the guide, be sure to check those out if that interests you. I will be updating these guides as the season starts. There's always a few unknowns, so be sure to keep an eye on that. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. Have a great time in the season. I look forward to seeing you out there. Keep safe, much love, and I'll see you in the next video.